Today's topic is going to be about new players, what For Honor could be doing to keep new players, why new players don't really stay, and, just different things of that nature. I'm a little out of it. I do feel a little sick, so I might sound fucking stupid from time to time, but it is what it is. I just didn't want to not make a video, so yeah, welcome back to another yapping session. So when players come to this game, I feel like you're kind of fascinated by the whole combat system, the blocking system, more or less. It just looks really cool, There's not a lot of games out there. Most games out there are just shooters and side view fighting games like Tekken and Mortal Kombat and all that. And there's nothing wrong with those games, but you look at For Honor and you're like, wow, this system is pretty cool. It's just so different compared to other games. It's one of a kind, and obviously they have the playstyle or the mechanics patented, so nobody else can use it. So there's not really another game like this. And I feel like new players just, obviously they're enticed by it, but at the same time, after getting some experience in the game, there's just not enough things being taught to you to the point where you can progress in a positive way in the game. I feel like a lot of new players, they're very ignorant to the fact that you can do so many things, and it's not their fault. It's really the game's fault, because if you look at the basic tutorials of the game, they teach you how to play in a sense, but they teach you so badly to the point where sometimes the tutorials don't even make sense fully. At least when I first played this game, I was going through the warrior trials, I think it was called, or whatever it's called when you enter the game, and some of the things were very unclear to me as a new player. I didn't understand certain things that I was doing, and I was stuck doing the tutorial for way longer than I should have, essentially. I felt the buttons they were telling me to press or the things they were telling me to do made no sense. And so I feel a lot of new players, once you get confused on something like that, it just makes the rest of the experience a lot less interesting, because you're trying to figure something out and you just can't crack it. So that's the main thing I think that that For Honor needs to really work on, is the introduction to the game when it comes to new players, because realistically, the players who are already here, they know what they're here for. We understand the game, we get it. Even some of the lower MMR matchmaking people get basic mechanics most of the time, but I feel the new players, they need extra help. They need a hand holding them through the first part of the game, because realistically, this game is no other, like I said. So there's no way you have an idea of how to play this game if you're just coming into it brand new. The learning curve is just so big, so that I feel Ubisoft and the devs really have to tighten up and focus on that. At this point, it might be too late, to be honest. The game is so deep into its lifespan that I feel they probably wouldn't do it, and it might just be too late in the fact that people already have an opinion of this game. Most of the new players, even though I do see new players come in, they leave just as quickly, just because of, in my opinion, not being taught correctly. The things I wish they would teach you in the tutorials would be more or less things if you play, or I guess they should just have basics, for example, parrying, blocking. They should really make you work on that, which I guess they kind of do have it, but I feel they could do better. They should make you fight a bot that actually kind of goes in on you and teaches you how to play the game. And obviously that would be a skippable thing, just in case you can't handle the bot at that point in time. But after the basics, attacking, managing your stamina, defending, parrying, blocking, all the basic things, and teaching you how to combo the moves, after all of that, they should go on to other game modes, because duels is the most basic game mode, and I feel at the very least, they should have a tiny section based on frame advantage and frame disadvantage and different things that you can do, to help the game, help you progress in the game. And after that, they should definitely teach you about other game modes, more or less, I guess, team fighting, and what to do when you're ganking somebody. Not so much teach you ganks, but they should definitely tell you about tags and how they work and the revenge multiplier and things like that, because a lot of people, obviously, they still don't know to this day. Okay, people who play this game every day still don't understand the fact that once 2 people touch a person and there's a tag from each person on the third, once that revenge meter starts filling up, you have to stop attacking for a full 5 seconds. And then 1 person should be continuing the fight if the person has a lot of revenge built up already. I feel like that's a very important thing for them to teach players, especially when it comes to this game, because the main game mode is Dominion. So I feel like that's just something that you shouldn't be skipping out on. I don't know if they had anything like that in tutorials, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember if they do. I did not know about any of this until my friend was teaching me how to play optimally. And then I feel like other basic combat things they should teach you is like, they should put you in a scenario where you have a teammate and where you have 2 bots on the enemy team. And they should be teaching you how to team fight, more or less, not like advanced team fighting, like obviously not peeling and things like that. I feel like those are things you figure out on your own, or maybe how to peel your teammate from across the map. Shout out Golden. But they could even have a small section for peeling or whatever. But the main thing would be like learning how to target swap, like between heroes and shit like that, because I feel like when you're in a team fight with a random, especially a low MMR random who's just kind of sitting there, they're just attacking the same person you're attacking, or they're just trying to focus on the 1v1, and that fucks you if the enemy is target swapping. If both of the enemies are target swapping, you're just sitting there trying to basically switch to the person that is the most harm to you, and your teammate is basically just sticking to one person. And you know, sometimes if one person doesn't touch the other for a long time, obviously, and you target swap to the person your teammate's fighting, instead of 2 individual 1v1s, you try to, you know, make it a team fight, that person gets fed revenge. And all it takes is for one of your tags to be on the other person, and then your teammate just feeds the fuck out of them. So I feel like team fighting would be a very important thing for Honor to teach. More or less just target swapping and how to get the general idea of how team fights are supposed to work. Mainly 2v2s, I guess I would say. More like brawls, you know? Or like a real brawl or real 2s. Another basic thing that they should be teaching, because there's so much of it in For Honor, would be like how to use your recoveries. Like for example with like Orochi, you know, even like Pirate. I'm kind of having a brain fart. I keep forgetting who has recovery, but you get the idea. They should be teaching you the basics of like, okay, you can do this with Orochi. Now you can recover into a sidestep, into a dodge, into another attack. It's just important things to learn when it comes to certain heroes. And the same goes with like hyper armor trading and stuff like that. They should be teaching you how to use it correctly. Like, okay, you just did this attack, or you have neutral hyper armor. This is how you activate it. This is what you use it for. Like, these are all simple things that could be taught in tutorials that would make the game so much easier for new players. Because the way you come into this game, you're looking at things like hyper armor and your moveset, and you're like, what the fuck is this? Like, how do I use this? Or at least I was. Maybe I was stupid when I was new. But I feel like you're like, okay, this shows this quality, you know, it has hyper armor. It's uninterruptible. But what does this mean? Like, I understand the word uninterruptible, but like, how do I use this correctly? Especially, you know, because some people, like Shaman or whatever, you throw 3 heavies at her with a Raider, you can deflect every single one. So that they should be showing you different mixes of like how you can effectively use things, and basically just make it easier for you to understand what each thing does. I feel like if the tutorials at least taught any of these things to like a more intermediate level, people would definitely understand the game more and possibly even stay. The only other thing that really I feel like makes people not stay is the fact that like sometimes, like, since there's so little people playing For Honor, which all ties back into this, obviously, this whole video. Sometimes, like, during, like, early on, you can obviously get placed into a way higher bracket than you belong in, and that will generally piss people off, too. But realistically, there's nothing we can really do about that if we don't have the people to separate each, like, skill level of, like, MMR. Essentially, since there's so little people, it all gets mixed into one giant, like, melting pot of, like, skill levels. That's why when you lose one game against a really good stack, you get pushed back into a fucking lobby with people who barely know how to light parry, or like not even light parry, just parry in general and stuff like that. And then you just stomp till you get right back to where you were earlier, until you lose a match again. It feels like that's kind of what it feels like the system is. So that's one thing that's really out of anybody's control unless we get new players. But for the most part, I just feel like this game has to do a way better job at teaching their new players what to do and how to do things. Besides that, I mean, the game's just not big because they fucked it up during launch. To be honest, it just didn't go well. It didn't go in a good direction. The servers were absolutely atrocious from what I heard. I wasn't around early on, but I had a lot of people tell me a lot of negative things about For Honor back in the day. Even though we still complain to this day, I still feel like For Honor isn't that bad in today's day and age. It definitely did a lot of work, but it's not bad in my opinion. So these are all things that I think For Honor can do better, just to, you know, try to keep players interested, try to keep players intrigued in the game, and have them possibly not quit the first week that they play the game. I had a lot of friends who, you know, tried the game, who I tried to put onto the game, that just didn't seem to click with the game. I feel like a lot of it had to do with tutorials and not necessarily learning how to play the game correctly, because Ubisoft didn't teach them. And I also had friends who were already playing before me, but they were more or less the same thing. They didn't learn how to play the game correctly. And as for me, I always wanted to get better and better. I liked the challenges, so this game really clicked for me. And then I found people who were actually willing to teach me along the way. So I feel like that's why I stuck to it. But for a lot of people, it's just not the same. Like, they're not as competitive, but they're not as driven to get better at something. They kind of just want to do good, but they don't want to, you know, put all the extra hard work in, and that's where Ubisoft fails. I feel like they have to get better at teaching their new players. But yeah, they all quit. But I just yapped for like a good 10 to 12 minutes. So these are things that I don't know if they'll ever be implemented or not. To be honest, I feel like at the point in time that For Honor's in right now, it probably won't be, just because the game's so late into its life cycle. But I just wanted to share my opinion on, you know, these things. After all, these videos are just me yapping consistently. More or less, I don't know if I covered everything or not, but I'm kind of feeling sick today, so you have to forgive me if I didn't. But yeah, I'm gonna call it here for this video. If anybody stopped by to listen to me yap, you know, I appreciate y'all coming through once again. Probably continue this. Just, you know, try to stay consistent. I'll probably need more ideas eventually. I think I've made these like 3 days in a row, if I'm not mistaken. Yesterday's upload was late because I was having mad fucking issues. But yeah. Thank y'all for watching, and yeah, you know, drop a like if you want, or comment, or if you're new here, I guess subscribe. So catch y'all later. Peace.